Being the face of the NBA isn't something you sign up for. It just happens. Great players who dominate year after year, playing in the most important games of the season and consistently performing despite the immense amount of pressure put on them. But that's not it. You have to be flashy, successful, exciting, and have a good personality. These players in some cases become bigger than the sport itself, stamping them as the face of the NBA. And for Kevin Durant and LeBron James, they're just the latest iteration of a long history of rivalries between two faces of the NBA. From Wilt and Bill to Magic and Larry to Jordan and Hakeem to Shaq and Tim, Dirk and Kobe to LeBron and Steph, and of course, LeBron and Durant. As competitors, these guys want to play against the best, so they shouldn't be missing many of their matchups, right? In Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell's storied rivalry, they played against each other in a total of 142 regular season and playoff games. And do you want to know how many times they missed a matchup against one another? 0. Not a single game missed in 9 years of being the faces of the NBA. Larry and Magic missed just 6 matchups against each other throughout their rivalry. Jordan and Hakeem missed 4, Shaq and Tim missed 13, Dirk and Kobe missed 17 matchups, LeBron and Steph have missed 14, and Durant and LeBron have missed 15 games against each other. Bron and KD have missed just about the same amount of matchups as other faces of the NBA have in the past, but they've done something that no other faces of the league have come even close to doing. Because the matchups missed is just part of the game. Things happen and you're probably going to play them again in a month. But when injuries jump into the picture, the rivalry is put on hold. This board illustrates the longest period of time between matchups of players that were the face of the league. Larry and Magic went 670 days without matching up against each other due to Larry's back injuries late in his career. Jordan and Hakeem and Shaq and Tim also suffered the same fate due to injuries, with their hiatus being weirdly close to each other's. It's like almost the exact same number. Dirk and Kobe went just under 600 days without facing each other, while LeBron and Steph didn't play for over 750 days due to LeBron's groin injury, and then Steph's broken hand, and then the whole bubble thing, finally leading to a matchup over 2 years later. And then there's two guys that love to play against each other. It's gotta be some sick joke that the NBA is playing on us, cause there's no other matchup that comes anywhere near the 1766 day hiatus between what was the most watched rivalry during the last decade. We've never seen anything like this in the history of the NBA. It finally happened. LeBron James played against Kevin Durant in an organized basketball game for the first time since 2018, and I think I speak for everyone when I say this. It's about damn time. Their last matchup was on Christmas Day of 2018, where LeBron suffered a groin injury, missed about a month, and it ended his streak of 8 straight finals appearances. Which is exactly where Kevin Durant suffered what was supposed to be a career-altering injury, just to come back a year later and play some of the best basketball that we've ever seen from KD. Since that day in 2018, Giannis and Jokic have become NBA champions, LeBron and Steph got ring number 4, James Harden has made 25 trade requests, and Victor Wembanyama went from playing in front of a crowd of just 3,000 people in France to selling out NBA arenas. The league has changed a lot over these last 5 years. But LeBron and Durant's dominance hasn't. Before they played their first regular season matchup in over half a decade, Bron and KD played in the preseason. And the intensity was like we were back in the 2017 finals, dude, it was insane. They were going back and forth in the first half before sitting out the rest of the game because, you know, it's the preseason. Despite it only being half the game, it allowed us to relive some of our fondest basketball memories. LeBron going coast to coast and finishing around KD's contest, Durant hitting tough contested mid-range jump shots. It gave us a blast of the past. The nice warm feeling of what the NBA was like just a handful of years ago. Until Kevin Durant hit a left wing 3 over LeBron, giving me flashbacks to when KD hit that same exact shot not once, but twice. Reminding us that nobody liked what the NBA was like back then unless you're a fan of the Warriors. Since their last matchup in 2018, there's been 13 games where they had the chance to match up. Whether it was because of Durant's Achilles or LeBron's nagging foot injuries, they never played. Even in All-Star games. In 2018 and 2019, they were teammates. And in 2020, 21, 22, and 23, KD was injured. 2 guys in 2018 who were supposed to start declining in the next 5 years, which in some respects became true. The non-stop injuries one after the other happening just weeks or days out from resuming the highly anticipated matchup. But 5 years later and they're still the best players on the court whenever they face off. The way that LeBron has told Father Time to go take a breather while he goes on to break records that no one thought would ever be broken is insane. And Kevin Durant has been just as impressive, without any praise. PER is the acronym for Player Efficiency Rating, which allows us to measure a player's per minute productivity. And for KD, he's been consistent throughout his entire career. And we know that. From his early days in OKC to his return from the Achilles tear, there's no hiccups, and he's on the uptick headed into next season. Now compare his career to some of the greatest players of all time when they were 22 to 34 years old. It puts what Durant has been doing into perspective. Tim Duncan, who had a long successful career, started trending downwards at 30 years old and never recovered. Kareem played long after he was 34 years old, but by that time he was already headed downhill. Guys like Kobe and Larry Bird did their best work in their mid-20s, but are still ways away from reaching the level that Durant is playing at. Alright, let's throw in the big guns. KD doesn't stand a chance. Wait, what? Kevin Durant holds his own in rarefied air, only getting better from 33 to 34 years old, while Mike and Bron were headed slightly downhill at the same age. And what about current players, you may be asking? Here's Steph Curry, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, and Chris Paul. It's barely a competition. KD is levels above these guys, yet he's rarely mentioned when we talk about longevity. LeBron is taking all the spotlight for what he's doing at his age, but the numbers clearly show that KD should be in that conversation with him. Because what makes this even more impressive is that he went through what is supposed to be a career-altering injury, but he never skipped a beat. As a professional basketball player at 30 years old, you're supposed to be headed downhill with the best seasons of your career behind you. If you tear your Achilles at 30 years old, it should be taken as a sign from God to take it easy and maybe think about retiring. At 34 years old, Kobe tore his Achilles and returned to the court with a clear deficiency in his game. 3 years prior to the injury, he was still playing like he was in his prime, putting up some of the most productive years of his career, which is measured by combining points, rebounds, and assists. But 3 years post-Achilles tear, everything went downhill, resulting in Kobe's retirement in 2016. When he retired, a prime DeMarcus Cousins was by far the most dominant big in the NBA, putting up production like a prime Shaq, until the Achilles happened. The next 3 years, Boogie barely put up half the production that he was in his prime years, and I think we've sadly seen the last of him. Patrick Ewing, who tore his Achilles at 36 years old, probably should have considered retiring, because the following 3 years post-recovery were a complete disservice to his Hall of Fame career. And then there's the anomaly. The 3 years leading up to the injury, KD was the king of consistency, putting up nearly identical production year after year. And at 30 years old, after over a year and a half without basketball, he came back and he was better, arguably better than some of his prime years. Since his injury, KD has put up 2 of the 5 greatest seasons of his career, including his second most productive season ever, just behind his MVP campaign in 2014. Durant isn't just playing at a high level for his age or for a player that's come back from such a major injury. He's playing at the highest level that he's ever played at in his entire career. Despite the obvious signs of getting older, like the nagging injuries or the extra rest needed right in the middle of the season, LeBron and Durant have been able to compete at an age and at a level that we once thought was impossible. LeBron has planned for years now to play with his son Bronny in the NBA. Bronny's entering his freshman season at USC, projected to be a first-round pick, which means that at 40 years old, LeBron would team up with his son, something that has never been done in NBA history. But what's better than 1? 2. In a Beats commercial that came out earlier in the week, narrated by Savannah, LeBron's wife, she hinted at the possibility of LeBron playing with both of his sons, saying that he'll play with his son and then do it again.
Tell them you're not done till you play with your son, then do that again.
See, Bryce James is in his junior year of high school, which means that if LeBron plans to play with both of his sons, he'll still be in the league at 43 years old, headed into his 24th season in the year 2026. This tweet is not going to age well, dude. And if he does, he'll break Vince Carter's record of the most seasons ever played in the NBA, which currently sits at 22. So if LeBron is planning to play until his mid-40s, and Durant, who has only gotten better as he's gotten older and has shown no interest in retirement, will the LeBron and KD era ever end? There's only 2 possibilities. It'll end when one of them decides that it's time to hang them up, or when the younger generation of players grow into their own rivalries and take the mantle as faces of the NBA. Has it already happened? I don't think so. From the time that they were up and coming to the middle of their primes playing against each other in the NBA Finals year after year, to this day when everyone gets hyped to see them match up, they create a buzz like very few rivalries ever have. And until a day comes when that excitement isn't there anymore, that will be the day that ends one of the greatest eras in all of sports. And I'll leave you guys with this. Over the 77-year history of the NBA, there have only been 4 instances, just 4, where a player signed with a new team in free agency and then led them to the NBA Finals the same season as the best player on that team. The rarest feat in all of basketball only happened once in 65 years when Moses Malone did it with Philadelphia in 1983. And then it happened 3 times in 6 years.
take the moments for granted. You know, we're on the other side of how many matchups we're going to be able to play against each other for the rest of our career. We don't have many left, so we try to embrace it. We try to have fun with it. We enjoy it. Two of the best to ever play this game, and it's always an honor to be on the floor. It's always a treat to be on the floor with one of the greats.